Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Classics now. We're going to go back to Hannah for some classics.
We're going back to the 80s, my friend.
Oh,
that's a good decade.
The best.
It is a great decade.
The best. And it's what I grew up watching because we were poor and like I didn't exist yet. But what did exist for me was video rental stores and
magical.
You know,
magical.
Never could have seen these things in theaters, but I certainly could rent them.
Have you seen some of these guys like that have like YouTube channels where they've recreated like in their basement like an old 80s style video rental with like popcorn machines and stand-up video games and literally like the little tags and all of the...
Listen, I ache for the good old days.
So good. It's so nostalgic and good. And I remember walking through those video rental stores and you would almost select a movie sometimes just based on the artwork of the fucking like VHS sleeve.
Well, and it's really important to remember too that even like B movies of the 80s are of a different quality than B movies today because it's really important to remember that film used to be expensive. And so when you made a B movie, you had to be intentional. I mean, even when it was trash, it was still had to be more intentional than like what the trash they make today is because now it's all digital.
Now it's just shot on the iPhones.
You can just, shoot a bunch of shit and cut it, put it in, and call it a day.
That's a fact. Well, and some of the most classic, like Friday the 13th was kind of a B movie. Like the director shot a lot of that sitting in the truck with the guy playing Jason.
Well, and this was the beautiful thing about B movies is that a lot of times they cost nothing to make. They made tons of money, and then that's how we ended up with all the sequels.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But
God, those are the good days. I remember. Oh, it was so good. So
when you could discover things.
These are some of my favorite movies.
I'm so excited to hear this.
So I love The Blob from the 80s.
Frank Darabont, right?
Love it.
So
Excellent.
The practical effects in The Blob are still incredible.
I agree.
The only effects
Shawnee
that get
Smith was the star. She was the girl in The Blob.
And she's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I complain about female leads all the time because they suck, but she's competent, but not overly so. She doesn't just immediately know how to fire a gun, which is amazing because she's like a cheerleader. So, of course, she wouldn't know how to fire a gun. So, it's little stuff like that that really is impressive. And the effects towards the end do get a little wonky because it's, slapped over the front of the screen so you can kind of see like the little digital noise or whatever, but it holds up a lot and there's just a lot of really great details. Like there's a scene where the blob runs over some grenades and you can just see them in the background exploding in the blob. Oh, it's incredible.
Yes
Love it.
One of my favorites.
They use gravity for most of their practical effects, so anytime that the blob has a lot of weight to it, that's why everything's turned on its side. Miniatures,
so
best.
Good. That's the second thing I watched on Plex. The first one was In a Violent Nature.
Did you love The Blob?
I've seen it before.
Oh,
I'd seen The Blob many times.
Amazing.
It's one of my classic favorites. From
okay, great.
It's right up there with me. For me, it's right up there with Nightmare on Elm Street and all those old. I love The Blob.
I haven't seen it in a really, really long time.
It's good.
It's
good.
Yeah. I remember
and it's got
fondly.
that they're all dressed just like the guys from the Lost Boys. Like they have like a leather jacket. There's like a motorcycle guy, and he's misunderstood. He might be a punk, but also maybe he's the only decent kid at the scene of this accident.
Yeah.
And the government's involved. Like this government conspiracy.
Well, there's also the bait and switch of you sort of think that the football player guy is going to be your main male protagonist,
and then they get to the hospital,
and then they go to the hospital, and then it just at how these things go.
She's fucking right. The blob fucks.
My favorite too is like the creepy guy that may or may not be roofing his date. He just opens up the trunk of his car and he has an entire bar in the back and all of the class rings that he gives to all the tramps that he hooks up with.
Fuck, she's paid attention to The Blob.
I'm gonna have to go back and
I
watch
didn't
it
even remember
again.
that part. Oh, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
Go on. What else you got?
Okay, the Thing.
The Thing.
Perfect.
Yeah. Kurt Russell, dreamy.
Body horror, early Kurt Russell.
Dreamy.
I mean, John Carpenter, Kurt Russell, early body horror. I mean, come on.
Man.
You just, what?
I made, this is another film that I made. Of course, Tyler really liked The Blob as well, but I made him watch The Thing, and he really, really loved it.
It's spectacular.
Of course, we have a husky, so he was a little bit dismayed for a minute there. But just the attention to detail. There's the classic scene where, the monster's the only character that doesn't have an eye light. For anybody in the audience that doesn't know, an eye light is what gives a character on screen life behind their eyes. It's literally just a light in your eye.
Yeah.
Just little touches.
Spectacular. I mean, arguing against the legitimacy of the movie The Thing was like arguing against like AC/DC. Or you know what I mean? Like, good luck making that stick. Like, it's the fucking measuring stick, you know?
Also, Rob Bottin's stuff that he did in that movie, the effects guy, apparently, it's been a while since I watched the making of, but he was saying, like, he got kind of thrown in and had to figure it out on the fly. So there was, like, incredibly dedeadly toxins on the set and stuff. Because
you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, he was
But it was smart.
She's nihilistic.
Listen, you want to talk about me being bitter. So they made a prequel to The Thing, obviously. It did have a Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it, who is a babe. But that movie it completely missed the whole point. Like, the great thing about The Thing is you barely see the monster.
Yeah.
And when you do, it's impactful.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, you get the new one and it's all just CGI and it's right in your face. Like, the monster goes out of its way to show itself, which is kind of the opposite of what the Thing monster's trying to do the entire time. So don't watch the prequel.
I didn't realize they did a prequel, but I'm glad that I didn't see it now.
Well, so in the Thing, they mentioned really early on that there's like a Swedish base near there, and something happened to it, and that's where the dog. That's where the dog came from at the very beginning of the movie.
The prequel ends with the dog that starts the 81 movie. The dog that's running. The prequel ends with that dog running off.
Oh, so that's
watch the classics. People don't watch this other shit.
Seems like low hanging fruit.
I think the Thing itself in the prequel looked cool. Not the morphing stuff, but like they showed way too much of it. Like, you see it piloting the ship, which you never should have happened.
Like, you see it like trying on tennis shoes.
Yeah, again, never.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah, she's right. They shouldn't have done it. But to be fair, at least
it's making a TikTok.
It was a cool design.
It's doing a selfie with the sloth from Slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
It's gonna fuck up some Swedes. Let's go.
Yeah, it's waiting in line to get in the restaurant from the menu. You know,
Yeah.
It's just trying to get into any horror movie it can. Okay, what else you got? This is fun.
So this is one of my favorite movies in general. Is The Exorcist 3.
Ooh, I actually don't know if I've seen that. Seen that one.
So listen,
Motherfuck,
is that George C. Scott? I have seen that one.
So obviously, The Exorcist is one of the most classic recommendations. But everybody's seen The Exorcist. Not everybody's seen The Exorcist 3. Don't watch Exorcist 2. It's shit. Exorcist 3 is incredible. It's really important to remember, too, that The Exorcist 3 was never supposed to be an Exorcist movie. It had its own title. It was called Legion, written by the same guy who wrote The Exorcist. The Exorcist 3, I'm pretty confident, doesn't show any violence. But it is scary either way. And it has the best use of a jump scare in any horror movie.
I was going to ask if this was your jump scare movie.
This is my jump scare movie.
The hallway, right?
The hallway, yeah.
Oh my God, I know what you're talking about. It goes by like when...
Listen, this hallway shot it's a long hallway shot, and it goes on forever. And
then it fucks you up.
Well, and additionally to going on forever, there's a red herring in the middle of it where you're like, oh, okay. So all this pressure's building, and you're like, oh, okay, there it was. And then it proceeds.
Yep.
And goes on for like another 3 minutes.
I am so fucking glad you brought that up. I had forgotten about that movie, but there was a period of time where like me and a bunch of my friends, I'm trying to think who it probably would have been roommates I had at the time. One of them was definitely Joe Hurley, who's been on this Beacon House podcast. He was on the famous Ouija board episode. He lived with me for a little while, and we watched The Exorcist 3, and it absolutely wrecked us. And it was like a cult fascination movie for us. Oh, I couldn't agree more. Exorcist 3 is and it's a departure from the...
So much of it is just spoken.
Yeah.
Like, all of the scary things are just described. And it is so intense.
It somehow got by me that it was not supposed to be an Exorcist movie. It's strange because it feels
it's kind of a
completely
detective
different.
movie,
yeah.
But then they go to the guy, you know,
and it has its elements in that capacity. Where when I saw it, I thought, okay, well, I guess I see why this is one now.
It's so creepy,
but it makes more sense that it wasn't. And then
it was not originally supposed to be an Exorcist movie, but they were like, oh, well, we have The Exorcist, and it's kind of strange because The Exorcist 2 did not do well, but they were like, well, you know how it is, so they just
bank on that first movie.
Yep. So turned Legion into Exorcist 3. They added the funky kind of ending sequence.
This is 10 Cloverfield Lane before 10 Cloverfield Lane happened. That's what's going on.
Fuck.
There
J.J.
is,
Abrams got his grubby hands on it.
Fabio has a weird cameo in The Exorcist 3.
I didn't know that.
He's just a random angel standing there looking weird.
Damn.
Yep.
Listen,
Watching that this month. I'm definitely watching that this month.
Yeah, it's one of my
So
favorites.
good. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I got one more.
Go.
Okay, I wrote this
These
one
are
down.
so-
Yeah, what a beast of a choice.
My God, dude.
Well, and it's just funny because The Exorcist 2 is just such trash.
Such trash.
That's awful. Yeah.
Bazuzu. We don't need to go there.
I know, it was bad.
So, Return of the Night of the Living Dead is my final
I'm
recommendation.
so mad I didn't think of that.
It is the titular punk rock movie.
Yes.
Most people know Tarman. If they've never seen that movie, they still know Tarman because
Yes.
he's that classic of a horror monster.
Yes.
Linnea Quigley,
Mm-hmm.
super hot, full frontal nudity. I can't recommend enough.
I agree.
love it.
That's again, to me,
Just
that
a bunch of punks trying to survive, and it's just so depressing because you can't go up against the government.
yeah, it's spectacular.
And it does its job really well too. It rides that line because it is legitimately hilarious.
Oh, so funny.
But it's also I wouldn't say it's scary,
It's
but it's
satirically
legitimately
funny.
horrifying. So
Yeah.
in that capacity, it works.
Yeah,
it's still a
there's-
horror movie. You're not betrayed by that.
Well, and
but-
the practical effects are good. There's like they're in a kind of like a science supply company, and so there's like a weird half dog taxidermy thing that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
back to life, and they just hit it with a bat.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's so entertaining. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. I've probably only seen that 2 or 3 times in my whole life, maybe. It's definitely been at least
I just wanna rewatch
15
it now.
years. I want to go watch it. Well, we have to. We've
No, oh,
agreed-
that's right, that's
We've
right,
agreed
that's
that we're
right.
all watching each other's
Yes, yes, yes.
recommendations. Fuck, yours.
Thank you for that.
God, Hannah, yours
Alone.
are really, really fucking
Listen,
good.
I come in swinging.
Yeah. You may have saved this month for me and my wife. I wasn't sure.
Listen,
exactly
and
what we were
every
gonna do.
single one of these, I mean, maybe Return of the Night of the Living Dead, as long as you have cool friends who don't care about nudity, dancing naked in a graveyard. But other than that, like, they're all really great party movies, like just to have on
Oh,
during
true.
Halloween parties.
Yes,
That's
and
true.
I think that matters. I think that's very important. Like, because somebody's going to see these.
Like, I'm not going to have a party and show Hereditary while we're all like,
Of course.
eating candied apples. And it's like you don't go see Hereditary and then go TP the neighbor's yard.
Oh man, the pumpkins have gone sour.
I think Hereditary could work in the background, like if you weren't actually watching it.
See, I feel like you
I don't
gotta
think people
watch
would
it,
lose their heads
though.
over that one. That's
That's like saying it's not even playing. If as long as you're not watching it, it's okay. What are you saying over there?
I'm here.
I love you. Do you want to go some classics?
Oh, sure. Mine.
Hey, real
Short and
quick,
sweet.
real quick, while you're pulling it up, I do want to Grace, who couldn't be here with us
Oh,
tonight,
yeah.
but she did go see The Substance with us, and she's seen a ton of. She's a big horror movie fan. She did say that I'm sorry, I should have read this earlier. Her recent recommendations for movies that came out recently to go see Oddity again,
Mm-hmm.
Blink Twice, which I did not see, Cuckoo, which I did not see, and then she recommends Maxine and In a Violent Nature.
Those are all ones I want to see.
Yeah, and man, I gotta double down on Oddity. Like if I had to pick one of hers, it's weird that she didn't say Long Legs. I thought she really liked Long Legs, and I was afraid to air my grievances, and I didn't want to like offend her or anything. But I guess it didn't make it in her top ones. But Oddity really is spectacular. It's just really good. It's hard to explain. You'll see when you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really cool. Anyway, so shout out Grace. Thank you for your recommendations. Now, Hunter, what are your classic recommendations?
Mine, I went way backward, about 90-something years ago. No.
By the way, Obama just texted me asking for money. I'm going to report that. That's
Well, yeah,
right.
FEMA's bankrupt.
That's
so.
right on the hot on the heels of Liz Cheney texting me asking for money earlier too. So anyway,
excellent.
These guys seem like they're running out of money. I don't know. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, mine, not really particular order, but Dracula 31 and Frankenstein 31 are the first two out of the three I chose. And reason being they're easy to kind of laugh at now because they're so dated, and they, in some capacities, did not age well. And I think I've said this before, so I won't belabor the point, but the benefit they both have is a genuine creep factor and a genuine sense of dramatic tragedy, where I think in a party setting, it's just going to be the silly monster movie thing that you kind of let go, where you can kind of meme on it and laugh and stuff. But if you actually just sit down, especially in the dark, much like what Spencer was saying about The Substance, if you give yourself a theatrical experience at home in the dark, crank it up, you have to give yourself over to the movies because they're silly in some capacities now. but they're also genuinely creepy and genuinely sad and affecting still. And they're both from 31.
Honorable mention, Dracula from 2009 is also a pretty solid recommendation. It's not a great movie, but it's got Gary Oldman in it, and he acts circles around Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves.
Oh, that's a great one.
And it's also a filmmaker's movie. It's shot on film. They do a lot of really cool camera tricks, so it's kind of wasted on that movie, but it is a really cool movie to watch.
He did OG effects, didn't he?
He did,
Coppola said, we're going to do it like the 31 film. Speaking of, honorable mention, just because I have so much faith, Nosferatu coming out soon.
I'm interested.
By Eggers. I saw the most recent trailer, and it looks like they're doing the same thing. Like there's that shot with the... What is that? The thing that people ride in. Why am I blanking right now?
Penis. Sorry, I couldn't.
Train, car, cart, horses,
wagon. I guess we'll say wagon. Whatever it is, but carriage.
Really?
It's a carriage. The carriage shot going through the mountainside reminded me of the opening of
with the train in Dracula.
Yeah,
where it's like a puppet.
Yeah,
like
like something. Yeah. But it looks like they may have done that, which would be cool.
Yeah, it's like love your films that you make. You know.
Yeah, put the work in.
Makes a big difference.
And then on the same level of depending on the mood you're in, it's either going to be silly, or if you give yourself over to it, it'll really bother you. I was telling Spencer earlier, I was trying so hard not to do this, but I can't help myself. Gojira from 1954. I actually like the Raymond Burr version, so if you can't stand subtitles, I guess you can watch that one. But the original Japanese one it's just so sad and genuinely horrifying, and I think it illustrates the horrors of war on a non-militant population really well. And given the black and white nature of it, even though it's obviously a man in a suit, shout out Haro, those effects aged better than a lot of the older ones because it's in black and white. So like you can still see the wires and stuff, but since everything's blended color-wise, it just kind of... But in the sense of giving yourself over to it, like people have always pointed out the wrinkles, which is 100% accurate, but it's also like he's a huge dinosaur, so he probably would have flabs. So if you can just let yourself go and be like, those are dinosaur wrinkles and not a costume, then...
Well, things are not beautiful because they fit today's standards.
I've actually...
so much is ugly today that people are like, it looks great. I'm like, it's hideous.
I've talked to my wife about that a lot recently because people talk about modern special effects. I promise, short tangent, but they talk about like how stuff didn't age as well. And I was like, that's not true.
Yes, there's we can talk about this because I can go on about this for a long time.
Yeah, because like modern stuff has the benefit of the amount of color grading they do. So what they do is they wash everything either out or in to the needed vibrancy to make it blend. So it all looks the same, but it's not necessarily good special effects. Like the CGI gives itself away really bad, but because the rest of what's around it is kind of softened to match, it's not realistic, and it's not that it's effective. It's that they kind of trick you into thinking that it matches better than it does.
Well, yeah, and it's really kind of crazy. There's a lot of information out there that you can watch, a lot of videos and commentary about, for example, why which Pirates of the Caribbean movie is it that's got the Davy Jones, and why he looks so incredible, but like modern CGI looks so bad. There's a lot of information about that, of how they did that movie versus how they do CGI now, and like why it looks the way that it is. Also a quick tangent, TVs used to be shit. And so you could get away with a lot more. I'm sorry. Things were shot in 35 millimeter and they were squared up to be on television, and now we have ultra 4K wide high def things, and then they weren't made to be seen that way.
The TVs look so good now that it makes the shows look bad.
I want to get a shit TV.
Yeah, I purposely like try not to watch like the super 4K ultra like high. Like I want like maybe 1080, but if I can find one like 720, like I want it to be smashed out flat, just like it was like. I'm very into like 2-dimensional film looking movies and stuff.
Aliens is a great example of that because its special effects are genuinely still very, very good today.
About Romulus or
no, the second movie, James Cameron. But to that point, I saw it, like I think the last time I watched it was on a Blu-ray on a modern TV, and it upset me because the opening shot with the spaceship that has never looked fake before, all of a sudden you can see the matte painting in the background and the plastic model and all that, and I was like, you've ruined this.
It's like they collectively took everybody's 3D glasses off, and it's just not. It's a little
100%,
a little too clear. You know,
but those are my three classics.
Okay. For my classics, man, really, I just want to go like your all's that lists were just go watch all those. But I'll throw a couple out there, and these aren't, by the way, ranked. These aren't supposed to be like the best, my top 5 of all time.
Mm-hmm.
These are just like 5 really good movies that kind of like you said, you could put on a Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to ruin the like dipping the caramel apples or whatever. My first recommendation, if you've ever listened to this podcast, you've heard me go, my favorite horror movie of all time, Pet Sematary.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Again, hopefully it's now to the point where it exists in the same era as like The Thing, and like those old classic monster movies or whatever. I just feel like it just does the thing so well. It's terribly scary. It's creepy. If you dig into the subject matter, it's very unnerving, but also it's just a good, fun Stephen King film and shot in northern. Just there's a lot of things to love about Pet Sematary. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. It's a classic. Another one, Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Dude.
So not necessarily a horror movie, but there's a creature in it, and it's a true story, and it is about a lot of things that killed, and there's a lot of church conspiracy. It's just so many things. It's in my Brotherhood.
Top pick of the night. That one.
Brotherhood of the Wolf is in my top.
So good.
Just for any type of movie is in my top, probably top 5 of all time, permanently. And the creature was designed by the Jim Henson Creature Shop, and it looks so great. And you don't get to see it for a very, kind of like in The Thing. It doesn't try to expose itself. You don't see it for a really long time.
But when it does, it looks great.
And then like then the action in the movie the fight scenes are choreographed so like it just does so many things well.
Yeah, it's a historical, based on a true story, quote unquote, monster movie set in old time France.
Yeah.
That's also a martial arts film.
Yeah, you were telling me about this movie.
It fucks. I mean, Brotherhood of the Wolf goes hard. Like it exists in the same level of excitement as the Substance for me. But honestly, I think it does a lot more than the Substance does.
Yeah.
Like
Brotherhood is like 6 genres in one, and should not be able to do that.
And it just shreds all of them. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and there's even like a nice little love story in it. It's got Monica Bellucci in it. It's got the coolest looking monster. Like Vincent Cassel is in it, and he's so creepy. He's the perfect guy for the role he plays. It's awesome. And if anybody wants to like talk to me about how can that possibly be a true story, catch me outside. How about that? I knew that story.
It's like, why don't you meet me in the parking lot? We're going to fight.
I knew that story as a child. And like, anyway, I've talked about this on the podcast before, but like I knew it as a child, and I was down at Joe Muggs where we all used to hang out slamming coffee one day with a friend, and I was telling the story. I was like, dude, you want to hear a crazy monster story? Check out this thing. It killed all these people in France a couple hundred years ago, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh yeah, there's a movie about that. And I go, oh no, probably not. Nobody knows the story. He goes, no, there's a movie about that, and it's in theaters right now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, nah, dude, this is a very weird, obscure story. He goes, and we got the newspaper, because back then it was just before the iPhone. Got the the Metropulse.
Yeah.
And looked, and sure enough, Brotherhood of the Wolf in theaters.
Yeah.
And we just drove straight to see it, and I saw it probably 10 times in theaters.
I'm so envious of that. I would love to watch that in a theater.
So fucking good. So Brotherhood of the Wolf, put it on. Just first off, watch it so you get it, and then just let it play all month long.
Yeah.
And then like 2 kind of like fun ones, Lost Boys.
Lost Boys.
I almost thought of that one. Yeah.
I have argued that it's the best vampire movie. When I was younger, I believed that. Now I watch it, I don't think it's aged well. But I want to say this, kind of like The Matrix, like when it came out, when it was cool, it was electrifying. Mm-hmm. And if you can kind of watch it with that in mind, like the period in mind, and like it was 1987, everything was excessive. And like it was just a really, really cool. Also, like it's still kind of a kids' adventure movie. Like the kids get on the bike and they save the town by filling their squirt guns up with holy water. There's just a lot of cool. It's Scooby Doo basically dialed up. Like
I love children in peril narratives. Yeah. Listen, nothing infuriates me more than Stranger Things because I wanted it to be so much more than it was.
I know. Do you think it's going to stick the landing with the final?
No. Of course I don't.
Take a minute to think about it if you need to, Hannah. Do you have to just answer right away? Like, are you sure about these things?
Pretty confident.
Well, and I would also say another one that we saw, this is probably a more recent one, Hellfest. Does anybody remember Hellfest?
I never saw that.
Listen,
you talked about it. I wanted to. I totally forgot about it.
2 words. It's Hellfest. And
the haunted attraction.
Not Hellfest, one word?
Yeah, because I think there's maybe like a documentary, like a found footage thing that you'll find. But this is Hellfest, and it's about an amusement park and these kids go, and like a guy who like looks like he's an actor is killing people, and the premise is not great. Nothing about it should have been this good.
He said nothing about it is great.
Well, but the thing is, the movie itself is spectacular, and it's visually stunning, and like, I think it's just like the set design. The whole movie feels like you're going through like a carnival haunted house.
Hey, work.
All of the settings are so good, and like all the even the plot and the actual like killer and the
you
characters.
love the theatricality of it. That's what I remember.
Yeah, the characters are all secondary to like just the look of the amusement park.
Is it kind of like camp, like super camp?
It's camp, but it's also like so well done, and like with just like every place that they go into, or like the guy chases them into like the House of Mirrors, and it's the coolest looking thing you've ever seen. And so, just aesthetically, it'd be wonderful to just put on the TV if, like, you know, the actual plot of the thing is sort of okay. The characters are they're okay, but the movie itself just looks fucking. If you've ever gone to like a campy haunted house, you know, or if you enjoy just the fact that like if you go to Frightworks, like there's so many black lights behind everything, and if that whole aesthetic, that Halloween glow, does anything for you, if it gets you going, Hellfest is a fun movie to watch just visually. And then I got a soft spot in my heart for Halloween Town.
Aww, that's cute.
I got to tell you, I do. Something about it.
I think we're it's kind of like me with Over the Garden Wall. We're just getting a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like super disturbing. Like Halloween can be fun and lighthearted. You know, it can be fun. It can be, you know.
Well, given that for the classics, I'd throw in Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island.
Oh, okay.
Cute. You guys are cute.
That's legitimately a good movie.
I remember. Did you ever see the Charlie Brown? And it was like he goes to France, and it's like the chateau. Oh man, I thought that was really scary. Like all the Charlie Brown kids, like somehow they go on like a field trip to Europe, and they go to this crazy chateau in like France, and it's like haunted, and it's like really desolate and really dark. I remember as a kid watching it and being kind of like, "Whoa, this is kind of fucking me up a little bit." Kind of like The Secret of Nim.
Okay.
If you've ever seen The Secret of Nim, like, I mean, I don't know. Very, very, like, maybe my favorite animated thing of all time. Just real dark, but real, I don't know, just brilliant. Totally brilliant.
Right on.
Coraline's a pretty cute recommendation since we're recommending cute stuff.
We're doing cute Halloween now.
Yeah.
Wait, we haven't done our shit Halloween takes yet.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
What are we going to...
So listen, there's a gentleman. I believe he's from Tennessee, unfortunately. Donald Farmer. Are you familiar with that guy?
Nope.
He makes like really trash movies about like whatever random kinks he has. He made such movies as like Shark Exorcist, etc.
Like Velocipaster and those kind of movies?
Yeah, but like don't. Just don't. Like if you want to know about this guy, there's a YouTube channel called Red Letter Media, and they did a whole deep dive on this guy. Just don't do it. Just watch their video about him instead. It'll be better.
Dang.
I haven't watched Red Letter Media in a long time, but I'll do that.
Love those guys.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I for my shit take movie, I would go back to Long Legs. Like I just think that movie just failed so violently and so like it aggressively failed violently. Just oh man, like just go find some paint and watch it dry. Like you could if you spend 2 hours to watch Long Legs, you could have been flying a kite, my friend. Like
I'll try to keep this short because I think I may have told it on the podcast in the past. I'm not sure. I know you've heard the story.
What are you mad about?
My shit take movie is The Haunting of Molly Hartley. If you
oh yeah, I know this.
If you ever come across that anywhere, I'd encourage you to drop your streaming subscription and file a complaint. I'm a cinephile to the point of like
this is the one. This is the one where you ask for a refund.
Yeah, I'm a cinephile to the point where like if a movie's bad, I still want you to give it its due. So like please like get off your phone and shut up. Still like at least let it finish. I was like 18 or something when it came out, 17 or 18, but it's the only movie I've ever been a part of where the entire theater almost in an instant decided to turn on it. But not aggressively in like a booing kind of sense, but more like the longer the movie went on, the dumber all of us realized it was. And so there were like phone lights coming on, and then you could hear some murmuring, and then I don't know, like half an hour in or something, everyone started just talking to their neighbors. I went to see it with a friend from high school, and there's some people in the row that were like checking text messages and stuff. And we just looked over at them and we were like, what's going on with you guys? Like, just started.
How you feel about what's happening?
Yeah, just started talking and like making fun of the movie. And they were going, oh, yeah, this is my boss from work. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, what's he saying? And just started like catching up with everybody. Like, it turned into a huge family reunion, but between strangers. Like, everyone was
Tell her about
getting to know each other.
When the movie was over and you went.
It was the closest I think I've ever come to being what the children call a Karen these days. Not in aggression, but just in my insistence on getting a refund.
I get that.
I went up to the manager at the time. I wouldn't do that today, but I was younger. But I went up to the manager, and I promised I was nice the whole time. But I was like, can I get my money back for the movie? And they were like, what happened? And like trying to figure out, was someone rude? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no.
Well, he said yes, but not entirely.
Yeah. And so they went back
rude.
and forth, went through the whole thing. And at the end of the like 5-minute long conversation with this poor manager that I held hostage, again, if, I'm sorry, whoever you were, but
did you get your money back though?
Oh, I did.
Okay,
and
great.
I don't regret that part. Cause at the end, I remember she goes, well, the only problem I'm having with giving you a refund is that you finished the movie, though. And
yeah, you
I
were
was
definitely that guy who like eats the meal and's like, "This is not what I ordered."
In this specific case, yeah. But she said that, and I was like, I think that's totally fair. But also, sometimes a good ending will pull it out. And I was just trying really hard to make sure I didn't waste my $10 on this, and it was awful. I was like, this was god awful. And then they finally go, I'm not going to give you your money. Will you take a ticket? And I was like, sure.
You said not to that movie.
Yeah, I was like, I just don't want to leave here with more loss than I already have. Like, I'm less of a person.
I just looked it up. I looked it up on IMDb. It's got a 3.9.
That's 3.9 stars more than it should have.
Is that out of 10?
3.9 out of 10.
Because I'm pretty sure you get like a 7 just putting your name on it.
I mean, it ate shit on IMDb. What was one of your bad ones? We'll look it up and see.
Shark Exorcist. Like, it's literally just some...
Oh, here we go. 2014, a classic. Shark God.
It's literally shot on like the kind of camera you buy at Walmart.
Just look at this. Look, everybody.
Oh, well, it's a victim of like a pretend cover as well. I mean, it's mainly just like...
I'll just read the synopsis of
a
Shark
pervy
Exorcist.
Old man like getting teenage girls
A demonic
to ride
nun
in the grass.
unleashes holy hell when she summons the devil to possess a great white shark. It's got a 1.3. Fuck.
That upsets me. That's
And it's not so bad it's like funny. Don't watch it. Like, I'm not recommending it to you. Like, I am literally doing the opposite of recommending it to you. Like, do not watch it.
My shit when Long Legs actually got a 6.7. So
it should be higher.
Let's see. Now let's see.
That surprises me that it's so low, just because everybody was so hype about it when it came out.
I would like to clarify with Hunting of Molly Hartley. Definitely don't watch it. Like, the whole point of telling you that stupid story was that it was so bad that the only way any of us were able to pass the time is by talking to strangers.
Yeah, like there's bad movies that are fun.
Yeah,
these are not those movies.
Well, like Slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse got a 4.6. I think it deserves so much more than that. I'm going to rate it a 10 right now.
I was about to say I would legitimately give it an 8.
I'm going
like,
fucking
guys,
10.
flood their comments. Like, we're gonna bring up the score of Slaughterhouse.
I'm not nearly done with Slaughterhouse. You just wait. You're going to get an arm until everybody I know has embraced Slaughterhouse and has given me the 3 sloth fingers when they see me. Like, fucking right here, buddy. Like,
you guys got to give Slaughterhouse a chance. Like, it
and then go
sounds like a
review
bad
it. Go
idea,
give
and
it
it's
10
so
stars.
good.
yes.
Yeah.
If you want to do Beacon House a favor, fucking go give Slaughterhouse a 10 on IMDb. Let's get the numbers up on this bit. We've got to get it up past Long Legs, at least.
I'm actually okay with that.
Any other honorable mentions? Or did Libby have a shit take movie she wanted to?
She didn't give me any.
Okay.
Yeah. She'd probably say The Mist. I love The Mist. I think The Mist is a great movie.
It's really important to distinguish between The Mist and The Fog.
Correct. Yeah, The Mist with The Punisher. Thomas Jane. I couldn't remember his name for a second. Sorry. Yeah. I showed it to her, and I think she's come around to not hating it, but to be fair to her, she might put that on there because I showed it to her early on, and she punched me when it was done.
I think that The Mist would benefit from being in black and white.
It apparently was supposed to be, and...
Makes sense.
Yeah, I actually own it outright, so I could watch it that way, but I've not.
Hunter's like, I can change it to black and white.
Well, I think it would help the effects.
No, yeah. The last person I talked to said you need to watch it in black and white because, yeah, the effects look weird. They always have, But if you consider the black and white intention, it makes way more sense that they look that way in color.
Anything you're excited about coming up? I'm looking forward to Nosferatu.
Yeah, that one more than anything.
I would say me as well.
Having not seen any of the other films in the series, I kind of want to see Terrifier 3 with you. I know that's a birthday thing.
Oh, I'm down. I'm so down. Terrifier 2 was so fun.
I feel like, and I'm hearing people are like leaving early.
Terrifier 1 was just sort of like, it was just a lot. And you could tell they were struggling with budget, and it was just unnecessarily gross. Terrifier 2, it is gross, but it's so, again, it's real vivid. It's like they've decided they're going to do this stylized thing where it's like real entertaining to watch, and it's got some solid performances. The final girl, Lauren Lavera, she's in the new one too. And I hear that they cast fucking the guy, Jason, I forget his name. He was in Lost Boys. He's in the new Terrifier movie. So that comes out in like a week.
I think it's next Friday.
Yeah, Terrifier 3 is definitely going to be, that's on my list of Nosferatu. But honestly, man, I don't see anything even getting close to the substance. I hate to say it, but and maybe it's going to wear off. I've been waiting for like 3 weeks for it to wear off, and I'm still just like, holy shit.
I mean, to be fair to you, I don't have the stomach to watch it again for a few years, but anytime I think about it, I just get excited. Like,
it's decadent. Like, all the scenes are decadent. They're big and loud and decadent, and like, it doesn't pull punches. It really goes for it. Again, I think it's a good analogy to say it sticks the landing. It's like if you see a gymnast, just go for it. And you go like, oh my God, it just takes your breath away. And they land it. That's the sensation I had. I was like, fuck, they pulled that off.
It's excess and earnest. That's what it is. Because like Dennis Quaid and everybody in it is ridiculous in their performance. The performances are ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
this isn't a comment on its quality. Obviously, I haven't seen it, but it also has the benefit of being unique and cool and interesting and good in a market that is oversaturated and awful.
Facts. Yeah. Honestly, the bar is not very high these days, but. And I know a lot of people have already talked about Demi Moore as like possible Oscar nom for her performance in this. And
I would be fine with that.
I gotta say, man, like I personally thought, and maybe this is a different episode. I would love to do a whole episode about The Substance, like after you've seen it, and maybe a couple people have seen it, or maybe seen it again, or maybe I go back and make some notes on my phone. But man, like honestly, Margaret Qualley's performance in it, to me, was a little more jarring. Like, I feel like she just had to exhibit more emotional range, like, because you get to see her kind of falling apart. It's fucking crazy. You guys are talking about effects, like practicality of effects.
Let me run this by you then, because it's bothered me for a while. And again, I'm with you. I don't have a problem with CGI, other than its over reliance.
Well, and I think too, a problem is that it's cheap. And I say that meaning that the availability of it has become more affordable.
Yeah.
And so places it's kind of like you got a bunch of interns working with stuff because it's affordable and you have it, but they don't really know how to make it.
But it's also why there's such a bad crunch problem in the industry, because everyone's like, well, they can do it in post, and meanwhile that means there's no artistry and no intention.
Well,
we've got a sign right over there that says, it's got a skeleton sitting at a computer. It says, fix it in pre.
Well, yeah, I mean, and so it's really important. So like what I was mentioning earlier in regards to, I don't even remember which Pirates of the Caribbean movie it is, but the one with Davy Jones when he looks amazing.
Yeah, the second one.
It has a lot to do with planning. So they planned, he acts the whole time, and, they go out of their way to explain, like, they light him correctly, and all this stuff is super important. And I think a lot of times CGI looks so bad because it is so clean. It's like, this is a monster, and it doesn't look gross at all. It just looks like it came out fresh, brand new.
It's why the Peter Jackson King Kong, like, people actually say bad stuff about the effects in that, and I don't see it. Like, I think that one's nearly flawless, and it's because like 90% of everything you're seeing is physical, whether it's miniature or not, and then it's just the dinosaurs and the ape that are
even like forced perspective.
Fake. Yeah.
Like, Peter Jackson, let's talk about the Hobbit series if we're gonna go off on a tangent here. Oh my God, when movies that were made, what is that, like over a decade earlier, looks so much better than your modern shit, that is a problem.
It's a fact.
It's like, you can use forced perspective, it looks amazing. Instead they were like, we'll just shrink them down, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
yeah, you made
cool.
Ian McKellen weep.
Come on. I just oh God. And Sauron, or Saruman rather.
Oh yeah.
He was like, so you listen to him talk in interviews about The Hobbit, and he's so proud of his work, and now he's dead, and it was so embarrassing. The Hobbit was.
Yeah.
All three of them.
That's true. That's
So
true.
the thing that I've been saying that I wanted
It was bad.
It was
It was bad.
embarrassing.
in a special effects revolution to use Hunter's favorite kaiju genre as a way to like really emphasize the point. I think there's a middle ground, like a marriage between techniques where we could have.
I think Alien Romulus was it.
It's pretty close, yeah.
That's about the best marriage of CGI and
Because the
practical
freaky
effects.
thing at the end, no spoilers, was practical, like 100% practical.
Yeah, but then also there's like the part where like they're
Breaking
when the ship is in peril,
Yes.
you see the planet, and again, no spoilers, but just like it was so spectacular. And yes, you just got done watching this crazy practical effects freak out, and now you're back in CGI land, and it doesn't. The transition is seamless.
Yeah.
It doesn't drop the story at all. It totally sticks the landing. Like I was very impressed. And like we keep talking about Alien Romulus about why it looks so cool. It has that vintage.
Well, and they built sets.
Well,
I mean,
and-
heaven forbid, too, people don't just stand on a green screen while they're, but, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Well, all the technology in it looks old. Like it looks like a movie from the early 80s.
has
Like,
a style.
It has big, bright buttons that are
Yeah,
all
like
yellow. Like it looks like
analog futurism or
analog
something.
futurism. Yeah, it looks like it looks like the old Blade Runner or like
Yeah.
Star Wars. It's got like it just looks fucking cool. It doesn't look too glistening and too CGI.
Well, like I said,
it's got a vibe.
Themes, style, writing. You know, these are all like having a plot where you know where you're going with it. Like these are all
Storyboarding your
Yeah,
effects,
exactly.
yeah.
It's like if you
God forbid we just plan something out.
heaven forbid that we don't just shovel out products so that we can then consume the very next product they shovel out.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really want someone to try this, and if I had the means, I would, but make a giant monster movie, short or otherwise, but something Godzilla-esque or Pacific Rim-esque or whatever, but do classic man in a suit stuff, but do it the way Del Toro did the Fawn in Pan's Labyrinth. So
or
you
even
have-
The Shape of Water.
Yes, green screen the
So
stuff.
Doug
that
Jones
needs it.
is just doing the Lord's work.
So
Yes.
good.
But 80% physical or whatever. Remove what needs removing. Maybe do like a dozen really, really good miniature buildings because we're capable of that, and then let the rest be CG. Like have CG all over it, but make it marry something that's real, that's physically there.
You shouldn't look like Gumby,
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and it's so bad these days when you see it. It's man. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, again, I think we're just like so many things. We're just waiting on the technology to catch up. Like,
Well, and I
it'll
think
get
it's
there.
a significant thing to remember too is weight. And I think a lot of times when CGI is involved, there's a complete lack of weight. So it's like if something hits the ground, I don't, as the audience, and this could just be me because I'm snotty and snobbish, but like
It made just me because I'm a dick.
yeah, I mean, that's possible. So sorry. But like, yeah, I feel, if something's going to hit the ground really hard, I need to be able to imagine that it actually has weight to it. If it just looks like,
Yeah.
Play-Doh slapped the ground, I don't know that.
I think it.
God, we used to watch YouTube videos of like bad CGI, and there was one that's like a shark attack movie. It wasn't one of the recent like Megalodon movies. It might have been called like
Deep Blue Sea, maybe.
or maybe Megalodon the shark, but it was like this like shark swallows a whole raft full of people, and the perspective is totally off. Like
Yep.
Well, these are funny because I feel like these are all like
Google
these are
bad
meme.
CGI.
These are meme movies, though. It's like we used to have movies that were like people trying to do stuff. I think there was like Anaconda, and there was like a whole series there, and I think in the '90s where people were trying to do something with that, and then it just became how do we top it? And now it's just a meme. You've got shark tornadoes.
Yes.
I'm not here for that.
I'm with you.
It's bad. It's bad. I will say none of that in Slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse, very good.
Slaughterhouse
very
is
well
so
done.
good.
Very well done.
I think there's a clear distinction you can make in
Not like Exorcist Jaws. What was the movie?
Exorcist 3, the
Shark
Jaws of the
Exorcist.
Exorcist. Yeah.
God. Okay.
I think this is just devolving into just a general movie discussion.
That's
Well,
okay. That's okay.
On the special effects end, there's Godzilla -1, and then there's Godzilla Kong. Came out the same year, completely different budgets, the whole 9 yards. Godzilla Kong's CGI was terrible. It was beautiful. Like, it wasn't that it was ugly, but it did not ever once look real. And then there's -1 that's also beautiful, but actually looks real way more than it doesn't.
Well, I think
And that's to your point of planning and
Yeah, and there's a really sad thing too. Even cheap movies are millions of dollars. It's crazy.
Which is insane.
And so because of that, people don't have to be have ingenuity. They don't have to like try to figure out how to make it work. And so there is a bit of movie magic that has been lost because of that. And I do believe that's why so much CGI is bad, is it's like, well, we spent all of our money on our actors, or we spent all of our money on this director, and now we have to just make it work.
And it's sad when you see a movie fail like that. Like, you could tell the one big budget was like the one guy that everybody's kind of heard of, and the rest of the movie is just
and here's
like
another
they
thing
gamble
too.
it all on that one person.
If your movie is dope as shit, I won't care as much. It can look a little bit stupid if it's amazing.
Yeah.
But your movie's probably not amazing, spoilers. And so when it looks bad, I'm going to be extra hard on you for it.
The Mist those effects were never good. And I love that movie. And not
like I said, you tend to
it's
just, you're like,
effective.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What was the last movie you guys remember? No, maybe we'll say the last or the first, or even the most significant movie you guys, when we're talking about practical effects versus CGI and whatnot, what is a movie that you recall seeing that was just stunning to you for whatever reason, that it did something really well, or just like the last visually?
We're talking on the effects side? Or
kind of, yeah, like visually.
Just visually, okay.
Like, what was a movie that really did check all the boxes for you, Hannah? Like, one of these movies that did all this stuff really well, like you're talking about. And same question for you. I'm assuming you're going to... I feel like for you, Godzilla -1 is like... just
My answer might surprise you then, because that's in consideration, but I have a more obvious one that's newer.
Go for it. Let me know.
What do you got?
Romulus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel same, yeah.
Yeah, I would say -1 in general, because what they did on that budget was incredibly impressive, and it's the most realistic Godzilla's looked in a long time. And I just think maybe because he wasn't over-designed, like they didn't put too much into it. It was just let him be a giant gray dinosaur that walks around and breathes blue fire. But it's got to be Romulus, because, again, I said it in part 1, but
maybe best-looking space movie.
I think so.
Maybe. Like, without cataloging, I'm like, I can't think of a better...
Well, there's Interstellar that looks like it's CGI, not because it's fake, but because it looks impossible, and then you find out that they used, like, really old, essentially lost techniques to do it. So most of that is practical, and that's impressive. But to your point, there's Romulus, where there's a perfect mix...
Way better.
Of CGI and practical, to the point that there's stuff, again, I won't say what, but the thing at the end of the movie, in my head, I was like, there's no way that's real. It just can't be. And then they released on YouTube, like the next week, behind-the-scenes footage of the guy in the costume, quote-unquote.
Yeah, because I haven't seen Romulus, but I have seen behind-the-scenes stuff, like the face huggers and like how they work, and that the remote control. And I'm like, God, I need one of those.
Have you seen the big reveal thing? Because they put that on YouTube. I don't want to say what it is if you haven't seen the movie.
If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's cool.
I don't think that. I mean, I may have seen it and not realized it, but I
feel like you would know what I was talking about, because in the behind the scenes, like you can see people next to it, and it's impossible to compute that it's actually real. But
I feel like the substance was more visually impressive and visually stunning than Romulus.
But that's because Romulus is really brown and ochre.
Well, but Romulus was very pleasant to look at. Like, it was very pleasing. It just... The aesthetic really sold the movie to me, and it wasn't trying. Like, a lot of that stuff was subtle, which again, I realize these are two completely different movies, apples and oranges. But
there's also on that visual level, like Ridley Scott, who had his hand in Romulus and made the first Alien, and has a really impressive visual library.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Napoleon yet, to be fair, and I want to. But that movie just looked ugly. Like, visually, it looked ugly. Like, everything was dusty and gray and like blue-gray.
Yeah, it just didn't
look gross.
What you got, Hannah? What's a banger of an effects plot? What's one?
I think the effects are the thing that's hanging me up, because I can think of a ton of just beautiful movies, but I'm trying to think of just something recently where I watched the effects. I've just become so jaded with effects that I'm like, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. But I was thinking about Midsummer being very visually stunning.
It was. No, it is.
It's probably the closest I'm ever going to get to a Wes Anderson horror movie, which I would give any amount of money for that.
I think that's a good description. That's a great way to tell people what Ari Aster's like.
That 100%.
If Wes Anderson was a horror film director.
It's like, if it was like Moonrise Kingdom, except not,
That's a great way to describe that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. What else you got for me? Let's go.
Well, on the effects specific side, I know I brought it up, and
the same like visual like overexposure that made Midsommar visually stunning is very much present in the substance.
Well, and it's in the daylight.
Yeah.
Which, talk about
like
getting some unique ideas.
Also same with the substance for the most part.
Yeah,
There's a YouTube short. This is just like a quick aside. And it's like a really interesting setting for a horror. It's like a short horror film. I cannot remember what the name of it is, but it's basically the premise is that these kids, their parents are gone. They build a fort, and it goes all throughout their house, and they just have tunnels of cardboard boxes all throughout their house, and then there's something in there with them.
Whoa, boy.
I want to see that.
Yeah,
that sounds.
I really
How do we
should have
find
known
it?
the name.
It's okay.
You got to send it.
Go ahead and look it up.
I'm gonna look it up. You guys keep going.
Oh man, I don't know.
Well, I wanted to ask about the Peter Jackson King Kong, just because it's an example I see a lot, and I know I'm a movie nerd, so I'm probably in like corners of the internet people don't normally frequent just casually, but it's one that's brought up a lot where people are like, man, CGI's not good, like look at how badly it aged, and it legitimately drives me nuts because that one holds up really well in my opinion, but I don't know if you have any opinion on it. The like 3-hour one from 2005.
Which one?
King Kong, where he fights like 3 dinosaurs.
I don't know that I've seen that.
No, you've got to.
Also,
I'm
the
gonna
movie
put that
I
in
was
my list.
The short I was talking about is literally just called Box Fort.
Oh, Box Fort.
Yeah,
Box Fort.
I know what I'm watching tonight. Am I going to be able to sleep?
I don't know.
I love horror, but I'm also a baby. So.
Okay.
You said it was on YouTube?
Yeah, I think you can watch it on YouTube.
Box Fort. Okay.
That
If
was
it's
actually,
the fucking sloth from Slaughterhouse, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going fucking nuts if I find
whatever's
that.
in the fort holds up 3 fingers.
If this comes up out of the cardboard, fuck you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess stuff affects people differently. But on that note of like how horror affects people, I love it as a genre. I like The Strangers is one that still bothers me to watch. My wife never found it scary when I finally showed it to her. Then we watched Longlegs, and as much as I loved Longlegs, I was like, I'm good. Like, that was great. And we went home, and we were in bed, and she was like, I'm not okay. And I was like,
Aw.
I was like, that bothered you? Like it's just strange to me how...
Well, what was the Strangers movie we saw? Was it Strangers 2? Where there was a scene at the pool?
Oh, yeah. It Pray by Night or something like that?
That one was visually spectacular.
It
had
was.
a lot of cool, and it had some 80s throwback. It had a lot of neon and stuff.
Not scary in the slightest, but it was spectacular.
But it was very, very entertaining, yeah.
We actually saw part 1 of the new remake trilogy, and boy, was it bad.
Yeah,
my God, was it bad.
Every time I see a trailer for a new horror movie, I'm just like, oh, this is going to suck. Like, it's because so many of them do. So many of them just drop the ball. The list that we started this episode out with, with Maxine and Oddity, and there's a lot of good ones recently. This is above average year for horror, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
But there were some clunkers too, and who knows how they're going to age?
Well, you're trying to find the gems.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's so much stuff now.
Yeah.
Because every streaming service has to make their own content. Plus, there's still independent content. There's still big production content. There's stuff, where do you find the movie that you want to watch? Is it in theaters? Is it not?
Yeah, 100%.
I hate the decision paralysis that comes with that now. Like, to your point of I miss video rental stores too, because even though there was a bunch of stuff, it was easier to access and really tell, but then there's the Netflix model where you're scrolling through and they have ironic phrases as the description.
I have watched more movies than most people, but I have watched less movies in the past 4 or 5 years than I've ever watched in my whole life. There was a point when I was in college. I also minored in film. When I was in college,
you don't say.
When I was in college, I used to go every Tuesday because it was cheap. I could get cheap snacks, and I would just watch whatever was convenient between my classes. It didn't really matter what it was the time frame that mattered. And I saw so many good movies that way. I saw a lot of crap movies that way, but I saw a lot of movies. And now I'm just like, I sit there and I have everything at my fingertips, and I have a hard time deciding okay, do I want to sit down and commit my time to this?
Well, that's a problem I have with how everything's now being made into like a whole series. And I understand
we're being groomed into consuming long form content.
That's true, and in some aspects, I don't mind. Like, for instance, Ted Lasso, the more episodes you can make, I love it.
Well, character development.
Couldn't get enough.
Midnight Mass.
Oh, God, I love Midnight Mass.
Love Midnight Mass. I love The Haunting of Hill House. I don't mind in some but then sometimes, and I've heard, again, at the time of this filming, I haven't seen it, I don't think I've heard that the new Salem's Lot adaptation is horrible. And they've done some of those things where they'll try to take like one Stephen King book and they make like 52 episodes out of it, and it just drags the fuck out. I don't know that I want to commit to like 27 episodes of one story to get scared.
Like making a trilogy of 3-hour films out of a kid's book.
Well, you saw The Substance with me. Imagine if you would have taken a movie like that and tried to make it 12 episodes.
I wouldn't have gotten through it.
Like, how fucking dull would that have been? Like,
it would have been awful.
Well, and there's also the opposite problem where sometimes movies fall short because now we're so used to the character development that we get over the course of 12 episodes that we're like, this was 2 hours and I was barely with these people. Why do I care?
Exactly.
But that's also a pacing problem with modern film.
It is, yeah.
When we watch stuff from... My wife grew up not watching almost any cinema that way, and I grew up with parents that loved movies, so I saw thousands of films before I met her. And when we go back and watch stuff, generally from like 2005 backwards, you're guaranteed a much better sense of pacing. And I mean actual pacing, not just slow burn, which you get a lot now, and not just breakneck, but they're like a really good middle ground where there's a just kind of easing you into it. And then once the movie knows it has you, because it's made by competent people, that's when they ratchet it up, and then you're like white knuckled on the couch or whatever. Like I usually say like 90s thrillers is kind of the way that I aim for pacing, because there's a sense of like you're on an adventure and that there's a beginning, middle, and end, and you know you're along for a ride and you're having fun. But there's also tension and suspense, but also something akin to humor. Like, and the movies are not long. Is it The Siege? Not The Siege. The Siege with Denzel Washington and Bruce Willis, where there's martial law invoked in New York City because of like a terror threat or something. That's from like 97 or something like that, and it's amazing because it does everything that its story does is like an entire miniseries worth of stuff now, and none of it feels cheap or cheated or rushed or anything, but it's in 2.5 hours and you're done. Well, and it's just a sense of skill that goes into that.
Well, and then there's like, I really love to, again, you get points just for being creative. Like I love creative pacing as well. This probably could have went on my more recent recommendations, but have you guys seen Fresh?
No, I haven't even heard of that.
Is that the one about dating, like the modern dating? So I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
Watch Fresh. The credits, like the intro credits to the movie, don't run until about halfway through the movie.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's really great. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it was different, and I really liked it.
How would you? That's how some people describe Barbarian. How would you rate it compared to Barbarian?
Barbarian is. I went into both blind. I think that's important. Of the two, I think Barbarian was more...
Just stood up a little more.
Well, they're very different.
Sure.
I will say. Like, tonally, they're very different. Even though they deal with kind of, I don't know, stranger danger a little bit.
Sure.
I would say that Barbarian is a much more polished movie.
Of course.
But Fresh is very interesting in its theme. It's fresh. But it's also
excited.
It was unique. It was interesting. It was
different. I think I was hovering over like the artwork for that and maybe like Oddity. And I think I just went, I got to see Oddity, but I almost clicked on that one.
Well, we have talked about Barbarian a couple times. That was one I didn't earlier, but I guess we're here now with The Substance. The thing that I kept
kind of like the movie. Remember the movie Parasite?
Yes.
The Korean film?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody lived in that house, and it totally blew everybody away and came out of nowhere. Like I feel like Barbarian was kind of like that. Like there was a trend of movies there for a minute that just fucking caught everybody off guard,
But I think a good way to describe The Substance for people that haven't seen it is actually to invoke Barbarian, but not because it's similar. I don't think it's fair to say they're similar really at all. But just in the sense that like you show up for one thing and then it keeps turning. And each turn is more ridiculous than the last, but it keeps working, and it's just crazy.
It takes you on an unexpected ride, which these days, just the lack of predictability in a movie is, to me, one of the most exciting things.
Yes.
So I was very pleasantly surprised by Barbarian and The Substance, and anything else that kind of zigs when you thought it was going to zag, just because you don't get that a lot anymore, you know?
Yeah, I didn't predict either of... I didn't predict Barbarian at all.
I still need to see Parasite. I keep forgetting.
Oh, you've not seen that?
No, I'm aware of it because you and Casey talked about it so much, and
it's
I've
kind
had
of a big
chances
deal
to watch it. And I just keep not clicking it, but I really want to.
And it's creepy in its own right. It's not. I wouldn't call it a horror movie. I would call it suspense, but it's definitely unsettling.
I also like that guy's work.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, shout out to foreign markets, like really showing us what's up, because I mean we really have the corner on the market, and it's really nice to see that there are films coming out of other places that are getting like worldwide acclaim.
The lady that directed The Substance, I cannot. I mean, it won at Cannes. You know, like there's the next thing she does is going to be so anticipated. In fact, I kind of feel bad for the director because there's no way she's going to be able to. You know what I mean? She's going to have that.
But what if she does? I agree. I don't know how you could, but what if she does? That'd be amazing.
Man, if she just like goes in the same way she went into this, like unapologetically and just full on art. I mean, she went in very deliberate.
But I think jumping genres would be the best way to avoid like getting unduly compared to yourself. Like
her name,
comedy.
Her name is Coralie Fargier.
Anyway. She stacked up the bodies in The Substance. That's for sure.
Fuck yeah, she did. Well, guys, I think we definitely have enough now to do a two-parter, to call this a two-parter. Thank you guys so much for being here, sitting here this long. This is fascinating. Also good. And my God, thank you for bringing up Exorcist 3.
Yeah. Love it.
Shit, what a classic. That's so far buried in my memory that like I wouldn't have thought of it, but I'm so going to watch that.
Yeah, if somebody comes up to me and they're like, I watched it and I hated it, that's like a red flag to me. Like, we're not friends.
If somebody made it this far and they have a busy schedule, and let's say that like they've listened to all this about movies and they've got the list and maybe they even took notes or who knows, or they have agreements or disagreements, but let's say that they're just going to have a little bit of time. Like, let's end it this way. If we had to pick one out of our list, one thing like to enrich somebody's life, old or new, just like one fucking thing you have to see, what would you guys pick?
Well, on the note of being unpredictable, I'm ashamed of myself, but Gojira, 54.
Okay.
Truly an effective
You need
movie.
a minute? What do you think? You want to take
I mean...
Go with your gut. Don't overthink it.
I mean, to me, it's The Exorcist 3, for sure.
I was so hoping you were going to say that.
But I really want people to see Return of the Night of the Living Dead.
That's the backup. Return of the Night of the Living Dead's amazing.
Listen, it is the punk rock movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I kind of have like a yes, but just like you, I'm going to go Brotherhood of the Wolf, just because I feel like it. For starters, like it's not on everybody's radar, but it's so good, and anybody that sees it, it just becomes like it has a permanent place, kind of like The Princess Bride or something.
Oh, okay.
It has a place in your heart after you've seen it. It's that good. But I really, really want everybody to see The Substance.
Yeah, well, I feel that way about Don't Breathe. Honestly, is that did really, really well. I don't want to make it sound like it didn't, but it's so horrific that it also kind of. I think people started fleeing from watching it once word got out.
Well, now we've cycled back to it enough times. I'd say big honorable mention to Alien Romulus. Like, see that mother. It's so well done. It's a banger. All right. Well, then if you guys haven't gotten any ideas for good horror movie suggestions out of this two-part fucking exodus through the ins and outs, the subtle nuances of filmmaking and whatnot, then I don't know what to do to help you. But also, if you have suggestions, drop in the comments, send us a text, reach out through social media, whatever. Let us know what we missed, what we left out. I know somebody's going to go, I can't believe you didn't mention this.
You said that would enrich people's lives. So I'd like to, just a quick amendment. Given, like, because you were talking some adulting stuff earlier, like if you've got a project at home or like mowing your lawn or like the dishes are piling up and you don't want to do it, imagine that you could either do that and have a cleaner house, or you could suffer through Molly Hartley. You'd be better off you should go to your neighbor's house and do their dishes for them before you watch that movie.
At least you'll be doing an act of service for someone.
Yeah, you'll be talking to a stranger possibly, which is what we did. So.
My God. Well, Hannah, thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And you promise you'll come back?
I will come back.
She's going to be back.
As long as people don't think I'm annoying.
I mean, if they've listened to us this long, you're going to be a breath of fucking fresh air. And Hunter,
you've earned it.
You're giving her the oatmeal cream pie?
The guest cookie.
I thought this was for me to start with.
Yeah, we'll give that. I know we're ending, but poor Hannah showed up and my blood sugar dropped.
Gigantic oatmeal cream pie.
And a Mountain Dew, and I thought they were both for me.
And she was like, oh, this is for me.
Oh, she's sharing. She's going to share. Look, we're all friends.
No, you take it, buddy.
I don't want that.
It's all yours. You earned it.
Oh, then I might eat every bit of it.
You should.
Fucking A.
I didn't even wait till we were done. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do some ASMR oatmeal cream pie.
No.
No, don't. That's Hunter, by the way. I'm going to edit this out. I'm furious at you. I'm so mad at you. I fucking hate you. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Oh, my.